Diana, I think you're retirement age, and I certainly am retirement age, and yet neither of us is retired. Are you scared of it?
No, I'm not scared of it. Financially, I've prepared for it for quite a while. As you can imagine, I had to really.
Yes.
I'm lucky that I've got a good portfolio, I've got good advice, and I'm in a good situation. And I've got lots of things I want to do. I'm working on several charities, and I'm working on boards that pay me. So I'm in a good situation. I want to help New Zealand reduce the prison population, for example, big issues. But I have met people who are scared. I've met people around the country who come up to me and they're too scared to give up that part-time job because they don't quite know how to manage their money. And it's been really interesting because you realise that the money they're earning is not going to make a lot of difference, but it's just letting go of that, you know, once I stop actually earning, what will that look like?
Yeah. If I'm scared of retirement, it'll be more about time, but I had somebody I met recently. I hadn't seen them for 10 years when I'd seen them as a client, but they'd sold a large business and they had settled that, and they woke up the morning after settlement and they looked at the bank account, and in the bank account was 7.6532 million, and that just terrified them. They thought all of our life has now come down to and concentrated in that one. Now it's a huge number.
Be a nice way to be scared, wouldn't it?
Yeah. I mean, people are probably watching that and thinking, oh, good God. But they were frightened because they'd had a 30 or 40 year life running that business. They knew exactly what to do every day. And now they had to do something with the $7 million, and that terrified the hell out of them.
Well, I have met people. When I was a retirement commissioner, I met a young guy. He was young in that he was in his 50s, and he had planned to retire by the time he was 50. Worked really hard. He'd bought the batch, he got the beamer, he'd, you know, got the boat. He went down to the Sounds, celebrated, had a big farewell. I've made it. 2 months later, don't know what to do. No planning. Really hard, very difficult. And so it was managing himself and the money that was the issue.
Yes.
And so it is a mixture of things, isn't it, at that stage? I mean, I have met people also who've known they were going to retire, had their retirement farewell, and really just couldn't let the job go, and annoyed people at the work by keeping coming in. Yes.
But it is scary, isn't it? The whole thing is scary, and I'm more worried about you know, how I fill my days in and so forth. I'm sure it wouldn't be any problem, but and of course I watched my father, who practiced medicine right through to a few months before he died.
I know a few charities you could help if you want.
Well, I do a bit of stuff for charities even now. But I think it's the money stuff that really frightens people. Yes. Do you see that a lot?
Yes, money and health, I think. People are worried about their health, and of course if they haven't got enough money, they are on long waiting lists and things like that, so if they haven't saved enough. So that's one group of people. But then there is I mean, I always see that about 30% of New Zealanders live on superannuation alone when they retire. Yes. Then there's a group probably at the top end who have probably about 10% of the retired people who have enough money to have their own advisor and not an issue. And then there's the major group of people in the middle, and that's the group that Lifetime works for. Yes. It's how do we manage our money and do all the things we want to do. And lots of people either don't know how to manage their money, and those are the ones like your people you're talking about who are scared. But there's others who don't want to. Yeah. They've got too many other things to do. They have either hobbies, grandchildren, or they're continuing some of the work unpaid that they've been doing before. My brother-in-law is a scientist and he's an emeritus professor, and he hasn't stopped going to the lab just because they stopped paying him.
He's still back in there making a nuisance of himself, probably.
Well, in his case, he's got projects that are, requiring his brain, which is still perfectly good.
Yeah. I was, when Ralph Stewart first rang me up and said, I've got a job for you as a director of Lifetime, I was very attracted to that, because I really did see how difficult getting an income or being able to draw from a sort of portfolio was, and I don't want to overstate it, but I basically think Lifetime does God's work. It's a very good job that we do.
Yes.
If we can, I don't think we can. You can't ever 100% take the risk out of it. You can't 100% take the worry out of it. But at least you can say, look, as far as we can tell, you can draw this amount of money out of this and you're going to be fine.
Yes, and I'm the same. When I was approached, I'd just finished being the Retirement Commissioner, and it was one of the big things missing in New Zealand. We spent a lot of time trying to get people to understand financial literacy, to use the sorted website, to start saving, to join KiwiSaver and all of that, and we didn't spend probably enough time helping people manage their money in retirement, because there weren't a lot of products to help them.
No.
So that's why I joined Lifetime as well, because I think it's really important. And since then, friends and people I've never met before have joined Lifetime and just tell me it's just taken all that away. That's exactly what they wanted. They don't put all their money in, of course, and we'd never encourage that, so that they have money for the new roof, for the new car, or the trip, or the something helping their children. But that taking away that regular payment coming in all the time has just been brilliant.
Yes, to try and get a bit of that responsibility away from the individual and onto another firm. Everybody talks about the accumulation phase, but nobody talks about the decumulation. And we are decumulating now, because my parents sort of lived off the interest they were getting, or the dividends that they were getting if they had any shares, and they didn't have much in the way of shares. And that was relatively easy. But now you've got to say, well, I've got this $200,000 and I can draw, let's say, $8,000 or $10,000 a year from that. How long is it going to last? And boy, is that scary.
Yes, that's right. And it's a big change for my parents, who were teachers, and they had the government super scheme, which of course closed in 1991, but gave them an income for the rest of their lives. And now my siblings don't have access to that anymore. Some people, of course, were in it before 91, but many people don't, so they've got to find their own way. And this, in a Lifetime, in a way, takes the place of those long-term super schemes. Yeah.
Back in your time with the Retirement Commission, or as Retirement Commissioner, did you come up with any methods for people to calculate how much they can draw out of their money and what they should be doing with their money?
Not so much what they should be doing with their money, because we weren't able to be advisors on that sense, but we did have, one of the things, the first thing we did was encourage people to look at how long they're likely to live. And that was a big change. I can remember the day we actually had a calculator put on the website, and we had a woman, I remember, my 80-year-old neighbour came down to sort of launch it. And I was nervous that when she filled it in, it was going to say 6 months she had to live, but of course it said 12 years. And that was a bit of a shock to her, and showed us all that she had another 12 years to live, according to all the figures that have been built into the calculator. So we were starting to work on that, and I'm sure that since then they've done some more work on it. But the first thing was for people to understand we are living longer. We're living healthier too. Some people think, some people think that we're, people are getting sicker, but they're not. Whereas we had the last 6 months of our lives where the health dollar went, that's still the case. It's just that it's further out. So.
And of course, if we get to a certain age, our life expectancy goes out a little bit further. Our life expectancy at birth, say for a woman, might be I don't know what this, but 82 or 84 or something. Whereas if somebody gets to 65...
Oh, this woman at 80.
Yes. Then
it took her out to 92.
Yes, the 65-year-old is going to make it to 90. So that's 25 years in retirement. And if you've got a couple $100,000 or more or less, it doesn't matter the number, you've got to eke that out over a period. And of course the spending patterns are different early in retirement from what they are later in retirement, but you don't know when they're going to change and even really how they're going to change.
That's right, and it's the sort of live it up, fix it up, and then the last few years. So that's why we've worked on Lifetime. That's why we have Lifetime, and this has been a great conversation, and everybody should join Lifetime.